Good morning, everybody. So I was just sitting here this morning redesigning a finished part and kind of going back in the timeline in Fusion 360 and kind of remaking this part for something else. So, I don't have to start from square one. And I try and design some of these things with that intent in mind so that I can go back and kind of repurpose them without having to start from square one every time for a similar thing. So, a couple people have asked me how I do certain things or to go over certain things in Fusion. And normally I point people over to Lars Christensen's Absolute Beginner series, and I still do. It's great. But some people have told me that Lars goes too fast for them, even in the Absolute Beginner series. So let me show you a couple while I'm redesigning this part this morning. Let me show you a couple of things I do, real simple ways that I use functions in Fusion 360 of patterns and mirrors. And hopefully it'll help you out a bit. So this morning we're going to work on this part that looks like a figure eight. And I'm going to open that sketch up and show that to you. It's back here in the timeline. See, I think it's this one. It's this one. Let's edit this sketch and let's look at this. This figure eight hole pretty much consists of two intersecting circles. Each one has three dimensions. It has its diameter, and then the center of the circle is each dimensioned out to this edge here. Let me tip it a bit. This edge here and this edge out here. I've then also added a dimension in from the center of this circle to the center of this circle, and that's out here. And you'll notice that everything is black and not blue. That means everything's locked into place. And I always strive for that when I'm designing something that I'm going to want to print or modify, because then I can come back and change other things without accidentally worrying about moving one of these circles slightly, printing something out, sending it to somebody, and then having it not fit for them, because that really makes me nuts. Now, if you're just trying to print a one-off thing that you're probably never going to print again, you can probably get by without dimensioning everything perfectly, as long as you get it right, without locking everything into place. So we've got our circles here. So the next thing I did was I extruded them. So I had to extrude all three parts. This one, and this little centerpiece here. And then that gave me, I'm going to stop this sketch, that gave me, and I extruded them down, which means I did a cut and not a join or a new body. So I had this figure eight shaped hole. After that, what I want to do is I want to draw them across. But I don't want to go and draw those holes for every single one. So I'm going to use a pattern. So I'm going to come up here to create, and I'm going to come down to pattern. And you'll notice pattern's about 3/4 of the way down if you're having problems seeing it. And you'll notice I have three types of patterns. A rectangular pattern. Now, if this was a completely flat surface and I wanted to cover them with these holes, I could use a rectangular pattern and I could cover the whole block with these holes in one shot, which is sweet. I made a bingo ball holder for somebody, or I did that with 15 holes on it, and bam, one hole drawn, all 15 done with the pattern. It was nice. I'll have a circular pattern, and I'll show what these look like. Rectangular, circular pattern, and a pattern on a path. Today I want the pattern on a path, so I'm going to select it, and you'll see my pattern on a path box opens over here. And in this case, I want to pattern features. And my option is faces, bodies, features, or components that I could pattern. I want features. So now it's asking me to select the features that I want to pattern. I want to pattern this hole here, but I'm going to come down in here into my timeline and grab the features. So I want the features to be this extrusion here. You see it down here at the bottom in the timeline. And you'll notice when I move, the different things that are on the timeline kind of highlight up above in my part. So we're going to pattern this feature that is the extrusion I just made. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I also, when I was done extruding that, I came in and I put a fillet on these two edges, this edge here and this edge over here, because I wanted to get rid of the point of these intersecting circles. So I also want to pattern that fillet, and that's down here. And when I put my pointer on it, it highlights, and I'll click it. I now have two features selected, and you'll notice it says 2 up here, and now it's asking me for a path. So I need to pick a path for it to run on. And Fusion is looking for some design element that it's, you can't just say, hey, I want it to go left to right. You have to give it a design element that it can move in that direction for. So we're going to click path right here, and the design element I'm going to use is going to be this line out here in front, this hard corner. I'm going to click it. Now if you click stuff and it never goes up here, Fusion's not liking what you've selected, and you're going to have to find a different way to give it that path. One of the ways you can do is you can just simply make a construction line. So pick the come up here and go to sketch, pick the face you want to draw it on, draw a line across the screen, finish the line, and then click it and click construction. And you'll notice down here this warning every now and again, and it doesn't do it every time. I made this video, this is the second attempt at this video, and the first time I clicked this, I didn't get that warning. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. It doesn't seem to make a darn bit of difference. Anyway, I'm going to go on anyway since I know that it's going to work. Oh, it says I made multiple selections, probably did it by accident. So I'm going to pull my arrow out here a bit, because when I move it, it gives me the extra things over here that I need to finish this. It's asking me how many I want. I want 3. Notice that 3 includes the original. Distance. Now here's something interesting, and I don't know what suppress means, to be honest with you. I don't mess with settings in Fusion when I don't know what they are, unless I'm just wildly experimenting, and that usually doesn't turn out good. So quantity is 3. Distance I'm going to ignore for right now because the distance it's telling me doesn't apply for what I'm doing. Start point is 0, and I'm not going to change that. Now, here's something I'm going to change. Distance type extent. That means how far the entire pattern is going to go. But I don't know that number. I could find it easily enough, but I do know the spacing. So I'm going to change the distance type from extent to spacing. And I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to change it to 32. And that's, I know that's my distance that I want between my hole centers. One direction, I'm going to leave that set to one direction. If I was trying to make, if I had one in the center and I wanted to run them out to both sides, I could do that. Now, orientation identical is fine, and compute option adjust, again, I don't know what that does, so I'm not going to mess with it. And I'm going to say okay. Now I have 3 of those, and I only drew 1. But that's not good enough. I want to go all the way across. Now I could have gone all the way across with all these holes in the same orientation, but over here I want to angle these 3 in the other direction. So the front holes are it's all kind of looking toward the center. Just for no other reason, I think that looks cool. So for that, I'm going to use a mirror. And I'm going to come up here to create again, same menu I got my pattern from. I'm going to come up to create, excuse me a second. And then I'm going to come down to mirror. And you'll notice my mirror box opens over here. And now it's asking me what features do I want to mirror. Pattern type right here. I want features. Features work for me. I like features because I can select them from the timeline below and not have to individually click them up here on the model itself. So we're going to select the features I just did, and that is that extrusion right here. You'll see it, my pointer down below, and you'll see it highlight on the model itself. I'm going to click that. I also want to click my little fillet there that took the points out of that figure 8 where the circles intersected. And now I want to click also my pattern on a path, and that's over here. And normally if you were doing this all, kind of in a contiguous design, these would be together. But since I came back and I took things out of this model so I could repurpose it, they're not together. So Going to click that there. And now I have my 3 up here. It says Objects 3 selected. That is my extrusion, my fillet, and my pattern going across. Now you'll notice it's asking for a mirror plane. And the plane is that 3 thing in the middle. Let's turn origin on. That's on the origin, this thing right here. These are the planes that it's asking us to use when it says select a mirror plane. And that's saying, do I want my mirror to go up and down? Do I want it to go back and forth? Or do I want it to be off to one side or the other? So I want to turn origin back off to hide it so that you can see when I click mirror plane, it brings the origin back into line for me. Now, because my origin is now inside my model, the only one I can click on is this lower one. So what I typically do, and there's a number of different ways to do this. If this is something I was going to do a lot, I would probably do something slightly different. But this is stupid easy. I'm just going to zoom in till I'm below the surface. And now I can click on the one I want. And I want this plane here because I want my mirror to go to one side or the other. I'm going to click that plane. I'm going to zoom back out. Let's get this back about in the middle. Zoom out. And we're going to click OK. And there's my holes. So I only had to draw this object once, and I managed to pattern it and mirror it. And that makes making identical features on a model really, really quick. And I just love the heck of it. I use mirror and pattern and revolve and things like that. I use it every chance I get simply to cut the time in doing this down. Works really, really well in Fusion. And that's it for today. If you have any questions about anything I did in this video, please ask me below, and I'll either respond to you in the comments or I will make a supplemental video if necessary. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I have some affiliate links down below. You can help me out a little bit. It won't cost you any more. If you're in the market for an Ender 20 or, excuse me, an Ender 20, an Ender 3, or an AlphaWise U20, I really like both those printers. I think they're both great. And I will be talking to you next time. Have a great day.